Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. How important is a college's name? Here are some thoughts for parents of college-bound teens. Some parents of college-bound teens overweight a college's name. Giving heavy weight to a name is okay for students who have a reasonable chance of admission to a preeminent name such as Harvard, MIT, Yale, or Stanford. Being around that level of students for 4 years, plus the career door opening diploma, and those institutions' ability to meet 100% of students' financial need makes those colleges a reasonable aspiration. The concern is with parents who insist that less selective analogs, especially large private universities, are worth the money, and importantly, the sacrifices that many high school students make to help ensure their admission. Why is that a problem? Because a university usually gets its brand name heavily based on factors having little to do with the quality of students' experience or outcomes there. Here are factors that build a university's brand but don't help students much. First, research. A university's reputation is greatly enhanced by its research productivity. How does that color your judgment? Their PR departments trumpet their research findings to the media, and you thus see those universities' names again and again. That creates a positive impression of the university's brand, because few people separate a university's research results from its teaching results. Universities may insist that good researchers make good teachers, but that contention is hard to support, because researchers, by temperament, by training, and by the reward system that they're given, are very different from what makes the transformational teacher. For example, most successful researchers must focus on a field's cutting edge, usually esoterica, of less value to students. Contrast that with the instructor who teaches the basics and the practical, while guiding students to love learning, to grow in critical thinking skills. So it's little surprise that Ernest Boyer, the late president of the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, said, with tongue only partly in cheek, "Winning the Campus Teaching Award is the kiss of death when it comes to tenure." Another factor that builds the university's brand but doesn't help students much is Leviathan sports teams. Some universities build a positive image because their sports teams are longtime powerhouses. Yeah, it can be fun to root for a winning football or basketball team, but that shouldn't unduly influence the choice of college. Another factor that shouldn't matter much is it being private, the college being private. Some people perceive a college as better if it's private. The fallacious "you get what you pay for" meme. Examples that are also perennial sports powerhouses: USC, Syracuse, and Gonzaga. In fact, because public colleges are heavily funded by tax dollars, the actual amount spent per student may be at least as great as if you were comparing it with similar-sized public institutions. Large size. Larger institutions are better known, but may have grown large because of factors having nothing to do with the student experience, or at least in part. They're located in a populous area, or are older and so have had longer to build their brand. Of course, size has advantages, for example, more choices of courses, professors, and extracurriculars, but also disadvantages, typically larger classes, bureaucracy, and lack of personal attention. It's easy to get lost in the crowd. Now, let's turn to factors that are more likely to enhance a college student's success and happiness. A student's success and happiness at college often have more to do with who he or she is than on where that person goes. For example, even if a college is well selected, a student is unlikely to be happy and successful there if unmotivated, viewing college mainly as a chance to go wild away from parents' watchful eye. That said, the following factors are likely to enhance your child's college experience and outcomes. Selectivity. Some students thrive as the small fish in a selective pond, that is, where most of the college's students are brighter and more motivated. The positive peer influence and higher level of instruction rubs off. Other students do better as the big fish in the less selective pond, where they can do well without undue stress in studying, boosting their self-esteem and leaving ample time for extracurriculars, which many graduates believe were more valuable than were their courses. Not surprisingly, most students are best off being in the middle. This is all ironic because too many students who wouldn't be best off at the most selective college to which they could be admitted succumb to peer pressure, parental pressure, even counselor pressure. They get pressured to do unpleasant, developmentally dubious activities to get into the most selective college possible. For example, they may take an expensive, time-consuming SAT prep course, the SAT 3 times, a course schedule filled with AP classes, and that is advanced placement classes, even though that schedule requires so much studying that valuable extracurriculars, let alone a personal life, suffers. They might take up an arcane musical instrument like tuba or waken the cold pre-dawn to row crew. Some parents hire pricey consultants to primp and too often heavily edit their child's college applications. Parents who push all that are teaching their kids a bad lesson, that it's worth prostituting yourself to get a designer label, even when the cost-benefit of that label, like that of designer label clothes, is far from clear. And if all that effort, quote, succeeds, and the student gets admitted to the most selective institution possible, he or she will likely have to continue grinding to get reasonable grades, and depriving them of what often are more valuable experiences, such as being a peer counselor, leadership in student government, clubs, hosting a show on the campus radio or TV station, or writing for the student newspaper. Another legitimate factor in choosing a college is locale. Some students do better in warm weather, others in four-season climate. Some are wise to attend a college within laundry distance of home, while others, for example those with over-controlling parents, are wise to go further away. Politics. Some students are better off in a college with a distinctly liberal or conservative culture. A recent review of the data, co-authored by a liberal and a conservative, found that at most colleges, faculty is overwhelmingly liberal, but student bodies are liberal but less so. That said, there may be likely to be a significant moderate or conservative subset of the student body. That said, a small percentage of distinctly conservative colleges remain, for example, Hillsdale and some Christian colleges. Cost, of course, is a factor. The rich might be able to afford the sticker price even of private colleges, which is roughly $300,000 for 4 years at a brand name one, and many students take longer than 4 years. They can afford that even for more than one child, even including graduate school. But even the rich should consider the opportunity cost. Might some of that spending be better spent? But for most people, cost matters a lot. Much financial aid is not grant, but loan, which of course must be paid back with interest, and college loans are among the few that cannot be discharged in bankruptcy. A smart option, even for many bright, motivated students, is to start at a community college, where instruction tends to be, surprisingly, the best. Then transfer to an in-state public university, chosen on the criteria I've mentioned, and perhaps on it having the desired major. And finally, let's turn to the COVID wildcard. Of course, with Omicron accelerating, all bets could be off. Remote teaching and too often remote non-learning and eviscerated extracurricular opportunities could make deferring college a wise choice. That has long been worth considering. After 13 years, kindergarten through 12th grade, of being chained to a student desk, many students could use a year in the real world, perhaps spending a few months in a structured interim year travel program, and then working as a, quote, intern in a family member's or the family member's friend's place of employment. The student can then resume education with renewed interest and often a career they're eager to pursue. The takeaway? Society venerates labels, and with something like college, whose quality is difficult to assess and is of perceived high importance, it's hard to buck the norm. After all, few teens or parents would find it easy to tell friends, oh, my child is going to start a community college, especially if they did well in high school. But wisdom requires pitting the value of a college's name against the core criterion. What is a wise use of the college-bound student's time and the family's money? In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.